in special tongs for you.
Tony does all of the time intensive labor and then just lets me do the pretty thing. With sparks and fire.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, look at that.
So this is 1575 degrees Fahrenheit. A little warm. Well, actually just hold it. I couldn't get the clip on there. So
It's fine.
and then into the oil right here.
All right. Let's make sure we don't miss this. I had a good angle.
Here, why don't you come around to my side? So
Oh, look at that.
there you go. Let me switch it around for you. And one more.
Ooh.
So from this point, we do a couple more hours of cleanup on the grinder. We try and quench to get more flames. Just sate your pyromania a little bit. Yeah.
More. Nice.
So from this point, we polish everything back on the grinder, which is
So
making
for
an ungodly.
hours.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And once that's all cleaned up, we bring it out of the ferric chloride, the acid, to reveal everything. So let's see if we can get that big billet's ready. Not quite. Where'd we put the acid?
Acid.
Where is it? Oh, right here. All right. The big reveal. We forged it all out. We've ground it. We've heat treated it. We've polished it again. And now we've put it in this acid. And here you go. I'll let you do the honors. Just pull that straight out. And if you see there, all the pretty lines in it, we can quench it in the water just directly to the side there. And then basically, because I'm impervious to acid, I'll wipe off some of the acid to show you with the pattern.
And that pattern comes from all the different layers of steel.
All the layers that
and then the twisting, which we didn't get to fully do, right?
Yeah, we can try and twist it and forge weld it, but I don't think it was an ambitious deal to try and get everything ready.
It's hard to do fast.
Yeah.
But that's what was so incredible to me is looking at that. I'm gonna go back and grab that.
You have the billet, the Beskar credit.
Well, looking at this,
Yeah.
these layers that just get compacted down and compacted down and compacted down.
So we take the 25 layers and we forge that together, and then we cut that into thirds to make 75 layers, and we fold that in half, which we have in the forge right now. And then we twist that over at the vise, but we weren't quite at heat and it started delaminating. But there you go, from that to that few, that's kind of heavy, but let me get you.
You're able to see that pattern?
Go. So we started this to end up with something like this, or our Beskar credit. And we match it with the pattern welded steel to end up with the spear and a little bit of shaping. And then that's done.
Just like that.
Yeah. Is that almost ready for forge welding? What do you think? All right. Okay, cool. We're going to try and forge weld this. Yeah.
All right, pretend you haven't seen any of that.
Megan asks, how did you get into this line of work?
I was born in Hammersmith, so it's kind of faded. It's a borough of London, England. And I was just fascinated with all this stuff with armor and weapons. And where I went to high school in Burbank, Jody Sampson, who created the Conan swords, was down the street. So I used to pester him at work and started making knives, then joined the SCA, the Society for Creative Anachronism, started making armor. And by my
Wait, hold
early,
on. There's a Society for Creative Anachronisms.
yeah.
What is that?
Well, like you have the 501st and the Mandalorian Mercs,
Yeah.
where these goofballs dress up like you on the show.
Uh-huh.
Well, you get people dress up in medieval wear and create weapons and armor and then go out into public parks with rattan poles and beat the snot out of each other.
I
So,
have no idea this. Everybody else in the room here is nodding. I didn't know that the Society for Creative Anachronisms existed. I
well,
love this.
if anyone's on the Zoom meet who's an SCA member, now we've just given them a huge shout out.
Wow.
Their numbers are going to swell.
That's awesome.
So I started with that. Soon afterwards, because I'm in Burbank, where I grew up, I got approached to do sculptures for Disney World and armor for Michael Jackson. Then I created the hook for the movie Hook. And that was in the late 80s, early 90s. And since then, I've worked on like 300 plus feature films and your show, lots of TV shows. I didn't work on Supernatural, but I did Charmed,
Sorry.
Alias, Buffy, all those, did all the weapons and things for
Wow.
that. So, but stuff.
You're just like, yeah, whatever. No big deal. Eh.
Okay, cool. We're going to forge weld this underneath the power hammer.
Wow.
Where'd I throw my other glove? Oh, well. All right. Yeah. Well. I mean, we have to show it. It is your favorite thing.
We know it works. Speed blacksmithing.
Can you open the vise, please? There we go. And then close it up. All righty.
I mean, who needs Pilates when you can just get your core workout doing this? Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's a bigger bar.
Yeah, I did this the other day and it was easier.
Well, the other day it was mild steel. It wasn't high carbon steel.
Ah, yes.
And
I like to do my workout with mild steel. High carbon's like the real bodybuilding.
right, this is like Olympic weights.
Oh, okay. Like powerlifting. Look how beautiful that is, though.
So there's the twist. We're going to get a tighter twist, but that's kind of how that happens.
A little more drop forging.
Yep. All righty.
So we've seen all of the steps of the process in some order.
Yeah,
Tony, thank you for,
you're welcome.
you had to do so much work for so many hours to show us just a few minutes of it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, you guys can sit back down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
We have no audio here, Charlie, by the way.
We got it.
There we go.
Camera, so we get a good camera on this angle here.
Levi, let me know when to turn off the board or turn on the board.
Thank you.
We're just gonna get reset here, guys, for just a second. Front row, if you can just, any questions you all have too, we just want to make sure we give you guys some time as well. Let me know when you're up with that camera too. We'll get that going. All right, if you have any questions, if you want to put them in the chat or in the Q&A, we will, I'll just shout those out and then we can do a lightning round here too. Real quick before we get into questions, do you want to talk a little bit about Voices Against Cancer?
Yes, I would love to. So Voices Against Cancer, I just saw Rob write something in the chat. Why am I saying write something in the chat?
Write it in the chat.
He wrote it by hand in the chat. So Voices Against Cancer is an incredible organization that I have had the absolute joy of being involved with for almost a year now. They are focused on raising money for pediatric cancer research. But they also, one of the reasons that I was so joyful to get involved with them is because it is a community of families who really go out of their way to support each other. Families whose children are going through cancer treatment right now. Families who have lost children to cancer, sadly, but who absolutely have each other's backs in this fight, and who are looking first and foremost to find ways to fund research that mitigates the long-term impacts of cancer treatment, because there's so many, there's, as anybody, unfortunately, most of us know someone who has gone through cancer, and as we have all gotten to see, a lot of the time the treatment for the cancer can be incredibly harsh, and when you're dealing with young bodies that are still developing, those impacts can be long-term. And so that's one of the focuses of a lot of the research that Voices Against Cancer wants to fund. And they're also so focused on the families that are having to deal with this and making sure that they have the emotional support and the financial support that they need, because it doesn't just impact the kids, it impacts their parents and their siblings and the whole community around them. So I am so happy anytime I get to talk about them and anytime I get to raise a little money for them. So there's proceeds from this today that are going to be going to them, and I encourage you to find out more about them. Go to Voices Against Cancer on Instagram, go to their website, Facebook, all those social things. And thank you to all of you who are joining us from Voices Against Cancer today, whoever is out there, including Rob.
All right, I'm gonna do a little lightning round here. Let me just get in the background. Can you speak a couple of words?
Hello, can you hear me?
So we have a few questions from the audience here that we'll take for a moment.
Elliot, can you plug in the fan over here and get some cross breeze?
Daniel asks, is there any strength or durability benefit to Damascus steel, or is it purely aesthetic?
It's mostly aesthetic. I'm using a high carbon steel and nickel just to add pattern to it. If I did it out of a mono steel, just the high carbon steel, it would have been, there's less chance of having cold laminations, cold shuts in it. So it's potentially better, but it is prettier, and it looks closer to the Beskar.
Another question. Do you have a favorite movie? Or something you crafted, favorite thing that you crafted or movie that you worked on? You have to choose one besides the movie.
Kung Pao entered the fist. I went to see it. Everyone left the theater except for me and my date. And I realized that I'd made the armor for Betty in the film. So I had to watch the rest of it. It was the worst thing ever. So, I mean, I don't know.
Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
Yeah, it's horrible. It is like the worst show ever.
I'm gonna Google this now. Yeah.
I mean, I've worked, the premiere that I supplied a bunch of torture equipment this past Wednesday for the premiere was for Quasi from the same people who did Super Troopers. I haven't seen it, but I can only imagine it's going to be up there the caliber with Kung Pao.
Kung Pao Enter the Fist came out in 2002. A rough around the edges martial arts master seeks revenge for his parents' death.
Elliot, can you do?
I only seen it once, and that was enough.
It's got a meta score of 14.
We have a special guest here too, and I wanted to just take a minute. Sheldon.
Oh, Sheldon.
Sheldon's here. Hi, Sheldon.
Hello, Sheldon.
I'm here. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Sheldon, do you want to tell? I mean, they may know you from something else. You made an incredible.
Oh, I can't.
So I'm going to have to turn my volume up here. Can you repeat that question?
You can introduce the.
Oh, so Sheldon is
Yes.
an incredible artist who we had the pleasure of collaborating with, and he created a beautiful. Well, I had seen artwork that he had done of the Armoror and other Mandalorian characters before, so we commissioned him to create a custom piece of the armor specifically for this event. And there's a beautiful lithograph that some of you, did everyone who did the event get one? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
So everybody.
Okay, so everyone has one, but it's a limited run. Only you people get to have one, and we're just so and proceeds from that also are going to Voices Against Cancer, and we're all so incredibly fortunate to have a special edition of Sheldon's work. Now we
Absolutely.
need you to do one of Tony, though.
Yeah,
Caricatures of-
definitely.
In his
Maybe-
Viking.
Maybe in some Beskar armor.
Yeah.
Charlie, I know that Irma Cyclic or William, I'm not sure who the name is, had a question and he has to go very soon and he's very eager to ask. So maybe we could see him.
I have a question. Did it away. So for the finale, I was a little bit optimistic. I thought the ending of the final episode, and I feel like it don't feel like it looks like it's gonna be a season 4. It looks like everything all wrapped up. Both the 10 is little a Mandalore, go to and then are hiding and now are doing side missions. So if you can tell us what can we expect next, because also seems like to me Mark Diddy is not dead, because we never saw him born in a fire because
I know, right?
yeah. So what can we expect? And
Your guess is as
and-
good as mine about
yeah.
what we can expect next.
But we do know you're not a spy.
Yeah, you can expect me not to be a spy. William, I cannot tell you what is next, because I don't know. And even if I did know, I would get shot in the head probably if I revealed it or thrown into the forge here. But I know that John and Dave are brilliant and are always, a step ahead of everyone else. So even though we got some nice, tidy resolution for some storylines, I'm sure that they have ideas in the cooker.
Where is that? That's not the
Is Beskar, well, Beskar is cold when it's cool,
Yeah, when you pull it out of the forge, it's a little warm.
but you know, somebody tried to catch me at a convention once and asked me, what is the melting point of Beskar? Because Beskar is supposed to be impenetrable. And my mom was actually the one who figured out how we would determine that, because she knows that a lightsaber cannot penetrate Beskar. So she said, well, it would have to be at least, the melting point would have to be above the heat of a lightsaber. So then we looked up the heat of a lightsaber and we figured that the melting point of Beskar must be higher than that.
Probably over 45,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So I use a tool called a plasma cutter, which creates the fourth state of matter, which is basically what your lightsaber is doing.
Okay.
And it's turning a solid into vaporizing it. True Beskar, you know, in the galaxy far, far away, not the stuff we're making here, would have to be that temperature. So over 40,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
So that would take a long time to cool down after you take it out of your,
Depending on the size, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, when I plasma cut something, I can hold it in my hands and plasma cut right next to it, and the heat really doesn't travel.
that's so cool.
We've got another question here, or James.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. First of all, Emily, thank you so much for being an evangelist for Voices Against Cancer. It's an incredibly poignant thing that you do, and I think we all appreciate that. My question for Tony is, you said you were impervious to acid. Are you also impervious to heat? Because I noticed you weren't wearing gloves at the beginning. And follow-up question, can you feel your fingertips anymore?
What was the last bit? Can I feel what?
Can you feel your fingertips anymore?
Most of them. I degloved one of my fingers where I pulled the fingertip off of this finger. You can see this middle finger is a little bit shorter than this one. But the acid I'm using is not really that bad. I mean, it will kind of, the calluses on my hands are pretty extreme. So
Yeah.
when I was cooling off, the one spearhead to have Emily grind it, I knew it was at about 250, 300 degrees Fahrenheit. 350 degrees will give you a 3rd-degree burn in 1/10 of a second. So that's why I held it in water a little bit longer, because
Thank you.
Yeah,
I have very delicate hands.
me too. I mean, the funny thing is, you were asking about the gloves. I couldn't find my other gloves, so I just forged it without. But I go to doctors for checkups and they see all these burns up on my arms, but you know, they're all healed and they assume that they're track marks. And I'm like, no, I'm a blacksmith. I'm not an IV drug user.
I'm addicted to fire, not drugs. You got more questions?
Heather.
Oh, okay, sorry.
The
Oh,
Heather.
hi, Heather. Which Heather is it though?
Over here. Hi, Emily. It's so lovely to see you.
Hi.
Love the show. Love Supernatural. Love you as the armor.
Thank you.
My question for you is, so did you, obviously you're able to make things. Did any of it end up on the show, or was this for training and to make you look like a more, believable armor and not just randomly swinging a hammer?
I have not made any of the, so I got to do stages of the process on the show. Tony is the one who made everything from start to finish. But he taught me all of the stages of the process so that I would be able to show, to do them as we were shooting them. And then what I also learned as we were shooting them is that there's a lot of things that they want to look a certain way while we're shooting them that don't adhere to the laws of physics. So that was interesting. So I have been able to definitely cobble together, to use another trade, cobble together the steps so that I suppose I could make something from start to finish at this point, but I don't know that I've ever actually tried, because I've sort of just gotten like, here's what we do. We sort of worked through everything according to what we were going to need to do in the script and what we were going to need to show on camera. So I've learned the process non-sequentially and then done a lot of reading about the process in sequence. But
Yeah, Emily was brought in to have a 3 to 4 hour tutorial to use the tools that I made for this past season. So she was familiar with it and showed how it actually worked. And
then I practiced a lot on set because Josh let me,
you got the bug.
yeah.
You just like, you walked in here and you're like, oh.
I mean, this place is amazing.
And when she came in earlier this week to run through the processes we were showing you today, I've had grown men who operate heavy machinery flinch. And Emily was just an absolute natural, no problem whatsoever, 1800 degree metal, twisting it by hand, forge welding stuff, sparks, the heat treatment, the fire coming out of the oil.
I do wear gloves though.
Yeah, but that's one of your favorite bits, you
Yes.
know? Yeah.
Hey, Leah.
Hey, Emily, thank you so much to you and Tony for doing this. So I do the armor cosplay as part of the Rebel Legion. And one of my favorite questions I got from a little girl was, what are the tools on your belt? And I kind of stumbled and came up with something, but I was wondering, Tony or Emily, if you could tell me what you think the tools are used for on the belt and what names you would call them.
Which tools?
So you have the three things on the belt. There's like a little like rectangle part, and then there's like two other little things, like little greeblies on the belt.
I don't know.
I was like, well, one is used for testing the purity of the metal.
We've heard from an outside source here that they're greebles.
Greeblies, yeah.
Yeah.
Greeble.
But a greeble is, so in model building, it's anything that is put on, it kind of was created in the first Star Wars. There are all the little details that are put on other model kits
Uh-huh.
to make things look technical.
Oh,
So like,
yeah, this shows you how much I actually use what's on my belt. I do, I mean, I did in the book of Boba Fett, and then again, and actually, I don't know if I pulled from the belt in this season of Mando, but I have my little like vial that had water in it to test or some sort of potion to test the water from the living waters. And so I know that was one of the things. I actually met a woman at a convention recently though, who had put in one of the containers, she'd put chewing gum, and in one she had put hand sanitizer, and one she had outfitted so when she opened it up, it was her lip balm. So I endorse that. I think that's a very practical use of those particular items.
Hi. Hi, Emily.
Hi,
Hi,
Vera.
Tony.
Look, you have a friend.
Yes.
I'm
I was
interested.
actually hoping to make some chainmail for my Grogu. I've made chainmail before. I was curious on what the gauge and size of the rings were.
I actually used a pre-existed welded chainmail shirt that we cut apart and tailored. We had to make 3 suits, chainmail shirts like this that you basically see when Luke Skywalker, chooses, war or peace. But so we only had a few days to make it, so there would be no way to put the stuff together. Guesstimating, looking at it, probably 25 thousandths with a 5/32 inside diameter.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. For sure.
Yeah. But each link is welded, so it's it's like Whiting and Davis butcher's gloves. So you can't really you can't make it like this without proper welding equipment to weld each individual link. You've made
How long would
chainmail.
that take?
We cut apart a pre-existing shirt, so
How long would it take if you were welding it from scratch?
a long time, and you couldn't do it. I mean, I used to make chainmail when I would fly back to visit relatives in England. So after 9/11, they don't allow you to bring a bunch of tools and metal on an airplane, but I'd be on an airplane knitting a Volkswagen or a manhole cover or whatever, and get to London and show it off to people.
Ways to pass the time.
Right.
Hey, Amy.
Hello, sorry, I can't hear Charlie, so I'm glad you said hi, Amy. I'm actually writing some books, and so I've been taking notes as we've been going along because I want to make blacksmithing accurate. I just want to know what flux does and what delaminating means and what those terms are.
So the flux is just basically a chemical that goes over the top. It's predominantly borax. It's anhydrous borax, meaning the water's been boiled off of it. Then I add some cockroach killer, which is boric acid. And then I add sal ammoniac, which is ammonium chloride. Some of the alloys I weld have high chromium or nickel, and that facilitates the forging together. When I get it up to the correct heat, you saw when I started forging it initially, it didn't stick. That was, you know, it didn't forge well. It wasn't at the right temperature. It hadn't soaked long enough. And so it delaminated it, you know, the layers came apart. So, so the flux cleans the metal. It's a matter of forge welding is heat and pressure. So I'm using the heat from the propane forge and the pressure from the 250-pound forging hammer. So, or hand hammers.
And then just a couple more. So we've got Mary and Kirk.
Hey, Mary.
Lou.
Hi. Hi, guys. Nice to meet you. Just a quick question for Tony. I was just wondering, in terms of the design process for everything, do you have an input on that? Or do the production department come to you and go, this is what you're making, just do it?
So back in 2018, when I was starting this, we sent this. This is a piece of Gibeon meteorite right here. If here, Emily, if you can hold that up there. So, and then these two pieces were the samples of the Beskar billets that were held in the special tongs that we made to fit them. The specific tongs and hammer that Emily uses in her battle were designed from production. The other tongs were based on traditional blacksmithing tongs, so we could use them for armor making or blacksmithing demonstrations. And these were two samples. This shows the Whitman stat pattern of a meteorite, which is in Emily's hand. And this is the random pattern laminated Damascus steel that they ended up using for the Beskar billet right here. So
it's a collab. You bring them ideas and then they choose.
yeah, the prop master Josh will come in here and he'll say, we need to do this. And then I'll fire up some equipment and he'll take some video on his phone and he'll go back and show John and Dave. And then they'll come back and say, okay, we want to do this, but we want to do this in a manner that isn't feasible. It doesn't actually work in this galaxy, you know? So I have to say, well, I can do this and try and make it as cool as possible.
Yeah, this message is for Emily. I saw you at the Fan Expo in Cleveland. So it's so cool seeing you again.
Good to see you again.
I wanted to ask, since Grogu is now Din Djarin's apprentice, and he's part of your tribe, does that make you Grogu's godmother? That's my question.
Well, nobody's asked me to be his godmother.
Would you like to be his godmother?
A lot of responsibility.
Lots
I'll babysit every once in a while, and maybe if he wants to, I mean, I feel like the armorer really needs her own apprentice because especially now that they're back on Mandalore and she's got 3 forges, she's going to need some help. So if Grogu's willing to learn some blacksmithing, sure.
Cool.
And make some scale tools for next season.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I should have brought it. I have a Grogu that has his own little armor,
Yeah.
and he's got a tiny hammer.
There's a box somewhere off to the side here when we cleaned up that had a bunch of helmets from this past season. So,
oh man,
you know, just different pieces I was making.
There's so many treasures in this shop.
Well, like this piece is great because the big hammer you swing.
Yeah.
This was what it was going to be originally that you would have been much happier with.
But it wouldn't have looked as cool.
Yeah.
Hi, Heather.
Hi. It was so much fun meeting you at Orlando.
Oh my gosh, that one was crazy.
That's so much fun. So my question for you is, what was the most challenging part about learning blacksmithing?
The most challenging part. Well, honestly, getting comfortable with swinging a hammer, and really getting that to be efficient and proficient and not. I mean, there is an ease that you want to have with it that doesn't necessarily come right away, because I found myself wanting to like feel really strong, but then you're using the wrong muscles, and you can tell very quickly if you're wearing yourself out too fast. And so it's such a simple thing, but it can be a challenge, and you can definitely feel when you're getting it right. And that was something that I did. I think I might have enjoyed working on that the most with Tony, because it was the most useful, and just watching him and seeing the ease with which he does that, and then trying to do it on my own gave me such an appreciation. And you have, when you're hammering different types of metals and on different surfaces at different heights, like you have to adjust accordingly, and it's a real art.
Yeah, on Book of Boba Fett, I was forging out these spearheads to turn into the chainmail. Because I'm totally your body doubles.
Oh yeah, Tony body doubled me in Book of Boba Fett. We're always going in for the same parts.
Right. But
oh, what did you say? Sorry. Okay.
Okay. So in forging that, I'm using a very heavy, awkward hammer that production designed on what we call an ASO, an anvil-shaped object. It's a bunch of girders welded together at a height of about, I don't know, midriff, where you want to have it at about waist height. So you're swinging a hammer that's too heavy, that's off balance at a height that's about a third taller than it needs to be. So
yeah,
you're doing really well for what you have to work with.
Thank you. Scott and Jane, bring it home.
Hello.
Nice.
Well, hey guys.
Hello from the Philippines.
Hi. Oh, Charlie was telling us about you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, 2 a.m. here, but we're doing good. So I'm going to try to squeeze in as much rapid fire as I can to take full advantage. But awesome stuff from Tony for sure. I don't have anywhere near that kind of talent. We don't forge stuff here, but we did forge our own Mandalorian vehicle.
Yeah. Wow.
Of course, we got on one side the armoror.
Yes.
And then I want to share my major fangirling moment. This was at last celebration. I'm not sure if you remember my husband. We were on a video call because I wasn't able to go to last year's celebration.
I do remember. I absolutely do.
Yeah, so we were super excited for this. So two rapid questions. One, any chance of you coming to the Philippines? Any Philippine conventions on your route?
Tell me about conventions that happen there, and I'll tell them to invite me, and I'll come to the Philippines.
ManilaCon.
Yeah.
There's a ManilaCon?
No, I just made that up.
There should.
Yeah, we absolutely have a couple of conventions, and of course we have our own 501st and Mando Mercs and everybody out here as well. So
tell those promoters that you want to have me there, and let's see if they'll reach out.
But at the very, very least, we hope to see you in Japan.
I hope so.
That's very near us, so we're really hopeful to be there.
Yeah, I've never been to Japan, so I hope I get to go to that one.
But yeah, no, really, really appreciate it. And
our dog Ahsoka wants to join in, apparently.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying up so late. Did you have any other questions?
You good?
Yeah, I know. I think we're good. But thanks so much.
What is your car made out of? Is it fabricated fiberglass, or is it metal?
Sadly enough, it is actually just a car wrap, but we do have a little thing on the back end of the car that says it's Beskar armored.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah,
But
behind the screen here is all my fabricating equipment, some of which was in Jay Leno's garage. And so I do that type of car building, but for more armor.
Like you do.
So, we put it, hi, say hi to Andrew and say, okay, so. Okay, hi, hello. So we are going to be moving on. Thank you so much to everybody who came and joined us for this magical event, and just to witness it in person, I can't tell you how incredible it is.
Thank you, everybody.
So we're going to be moving on to meet and greets now. So we're going to be asking everyone who didn't purchase a meet and greet ticket to now exit the building slowly and carefully through the exits marked here, here, and here. And just wanted to say thank you again to everyone who joined and bought a ticket. Thank you to Emily and Tony as well for giving us an amazing, incredible experience. Thank you, everybody. So yeah, if you could all just exit, we are going to now move into the meet and greet portion of the show.